Welcome to Creativity Café, a place where we explore ideas, imagination, leadership, and stories that makes us human, but through an intellectual adda. So you may consider taking your tea and biscuit along the way. I'm Dr. Moin, your host for today's Intellectual Adda. I love to tell stories, but I'm particularly fascinated by the stories of unsung heroes, people who may not command the stage, who may not dominate the headlines, whose names may not trend on social media, yet quietly they build organization, develop people, kindle lives, and leave footprints that few history books record. But today is a little different because my guest has not come here with just one story. He has brought an entire book, not a book written with pen and paper, but a living book of life and leadership, written over 4 decades of experience, struggles, challenges, hopes, and aspiration. Every chapter is a different world, poses different challenges, and talks about different generations. So let us turn the pages. Dr. Ulfat Hussain, welcome to Creativity Cafe.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Moin. And I'm delighted to be in your Intellectual Adda. And as you have already mentioned, I'm Dr. Ulfat Hussain. Currently, I'm a teacher in Daffodil International University. I also did with Dhaka University. However, I started my job in my life with a diplomatic mission, which is an American embassy. I served there for long 12 years. And then I switched off to the corporate world. And again, these were multinational companies belonging to all these 3 successive uh, industries that I served. They all belong to America. These came in, these industries were in the energy and power sector. And then there was a hospitality industry like Radisson Blue and the Westin Hotel. They belong to the American entrepreneurs. And I was the head of HR for all these organizations. And currently, as I mentioned, I'm working definitely in university. However, I also do consultancy for HR organizational development, which we call OD, popularly known as. And then training is another of my passions, that I train corporate executives to align them with the global standard. And then, also thinking of Bangladesh in the competitive global market for ready-made garments. And that is where my focus is, because that's the bread and butter for Bangladesh. And we have competitors in the garment sector like China and Vietnam and India. So Bangladesh, well, is doing very well. And my job is to organize the people, to motivate them, and develop the organization such that they can be sustainable in the competitive world.
That's
Thank you.
fantastic. That's fantastic, Dr. Ulfat Hussain. And let me just say a few words for my audience, just sort of trying to wrap up your vast career experience. I would call it a blurb of the book. So, dear audience, as you know that we are going to read a book today, a book of life leadership, but he has given a little summary. So what I can see that he said many things, but he's particularly very, very proud feeling very, very fulfilled, has become an architect who is dedicating his life to develop people who can rewrite the story of Bangladesh. And he has mentioned some of the sectors. So I think those who are seeing our today's program, particularly from all other countries, and particularly from Bangladesh, I think there is going to be a fascinating story which is going to unfold. So, Dr. Ulfat Hussain, my first question that I'm going to ask you and with that question, probably we will start reading our first chapter. It's about advice to a young person. As I understand that you have over 4 decades of career. So you are placed into the right, the captain chair to advise the young OW who is navigating the ship into the challenging ocean of the world. So think about that you are standing in front of a mirror, and in the mirror, you are seeing a young man who has just got a job into American embassy operating in Bangladesh. He has dream, he has aspiration, he has fear, but he wants some advice about life, about career. What advice you are going to give him?
Oh, that's interesting question, Mr. Moin. Uh, I would say that uh, from 20 to 30 years of age, this is the 20s, is a decade where a young man should build himself to get himself ready for the future battle, future competitions. So to start with career, if you say, I would tell him, well, to build his skills. He has his education, fine. He has done his graduation or master's from the university. That's okay. But when he is in the job, he is he must develop his skills, which is required to perform an excellent job. And this skill, he cannot do it once in a shot. He has to do it year after, as he goes forward with the experience. He learns a lot of things and new ideas, new philosophy, new technology, new standard operating procedures all would come. So I will first of all tell him, advise him to develop, he build his skills. And then the second one I would emphasize is be adaptable. Every organization has its own culture. Every organization will have different types of bosses, and he will meet with different psychological people, different psyches they maintain. Some are very, helping. Some are arrogant. Some bosses are demanding. Some bosses are pushy, and all those. But if he has to develop himself, he must be able to, absorb all these into him so that that will make him perfect. So adaptability is the second point that I would say as a matter of career. And he must have proper ambition and proper direction to reach to that goal. If I consider him, working for corporations for another 30, 35 years, he has a long way to go. And in this long way, he must have a clear direction for to meet his ambition. And the last point I would say is prioritize learning over earning. These guys shouldn't just jump into earning. They should be getting themselves ready for learning, and this learning would give him the strength to go forward. That's about career. The second point, as you said, with people, what he should do with the people. I would suggest that the first thing he should do is build networking through value creation, the creation that the value that he can create, the value for himself. And he must be curious to learn, which I mentioned before, and then deliver good work before he wants a favor or before he wants some, you know, special considerations in his career or in his job. So he must deliver good work and get the confidence of his boss so that the boss would feel that he is really a good performer and he can take extra load of responsibilities. The third point I would like to say is life for 20s to 30s. This is a time when the young men and women should build and practice resilience, because what the patience and resilience they will have, and and this is the time that he must invest in his health, his skills, and relationship building, because this is the field where he plays and gets mastery over future scoring. So I think that this investment of time will give him a massive compound interest in 30 years and after.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Ulfat Hussain. That's really, really very good advice. To be honest with you, I feel like that if I could be that 25 years old, sitting with you, having a cup of tea and having this adda, not just as I'm doing now, because I'm an old man as well now. But I really wish that I could be that person. But for my audience, I need to actually a little bit summarize, because what you have said, it has tremendous value. And I was taking note because I don't want to actually lose these gems that you are throwing, the pearls of wisdom. So you said that he should invest on his skill. So it's really fascinating that you have mastered knowledge while you are doing your degree, but now it is the time to put that knowledge into practice. As you put that knowledge into practice, put that knowledge into test, you develop the skill, and skill matters because it is something that differentiates someone who knows and someone who can solve the problem. You talked about adaptability because you said that this is not home, this is organization, and it may have different culture that you have come from. So adaptability is very, very important. But you also given a strategic vision. So you said that they must have ambition. Ambition is like it's like pulling them and some clarity about what they want to do in life. That is very, very important. But what I really liked about is that you said that learning over earning. Learning over earning, that is really fascinating because and when you are saying this thing, I could see not that you are sitting there and a different man sitting there who actually looks like very similar to you is that Mr. Jim Rohn, who is to train or advise the millionaires and billionaires and the leaders. So Jim Rohn said that it's not actually what you want. It's all about become the person who can attract what you want. So focus on becoming the person. That's why you said that. Focus on learning over earning, because when you learn and you become the person, then learning will follow. Then you talk about the importance of networking and connecting with people, because in this vast world, we are connected with people on social media, on Facebook, on many other kind of, the digital platform. But what is the quality of our connection? Is it really contributing to our value system? So you focused on that. Having good network that can really help us. You said about curiosity, good work, And that is fascinating because without curiosity, someone cannot learn. And without good work, someone cannot earn reputation. So this is so powerful. I can see that. And finally, you said that between 20 and 30, they should look for their health, their skill, and relationships. So what I can see is that you are not only covering just life in one dimension, but you are bringing different dimension here. It's about body, it's about mindset, it's about soul. So that's really fascinating. And I can feel that when I said that I'm going to read a book today, I can see that it was not an overstatement. It was just appropriate. So let me turn the second chapter of the book. And the second chapter is about leadership. So my question on this chapter is that why would anyone follow a corporate leader? Because we can see that people obey leaders, obey managers because they have to, because the manager, the leader, they have the power. So, but obeying and following and respecting is not the same thing. So, drawing on your experience, can you say that what are the qualities we should develop to be a leader who will be admired and who will be followed?
Yeah, yeah. This is really the task of the corporate sector. You know why? I think I will start from the quality of, not only the quality, the characteristic of leadership. Some leaders are charismatic, and in my understanding, they're born. Some leaders are not charismatic, but can exert tremendous amount of, you know, tremendous amount of their weight, intellectual weight, I should say, over his under staff. So they are made. They are not charismatic. Now, most charismatic leaders, to my understanding, belong to the political arena. But the leaders, those who are made, they belong to corporate world. Now, corporate world, corporate sector has the opportunity to make a person hero from zero. It has the, you know, the curriculum, I should say, the opportunities, uh, and all those things together in the corporate world. And you can see that in my time when I recruited people, I recruited MTOs, management trainee officers. We have selected these MTOs from the universities. They are all bright and sharp, but I found that over the years, some of them excel, some of them go forward, and some of them remain where they started. Why? Because they did not explore the opportunity that the corporate world gives. They did not learn what to do. They did not come out of the box. They did not walk extra mile. And that is where they fall back. And those who practice this, they go forward. Many of them recruited at the same time as MTOs, become CEOs, CXOs, but many retire at being manager only. So the difference is that the leadership quality that they must attain, all the industries and corporate sector, they have this opportunity to go. Now, why do people follow leaders? That's it can be a good question. And I always propose that a leader is he who has followers. Now, why should people follow another person or make him his idol? The first thing will mention, Dr. Moin, is about empathy. He's a person, he's a human being, and he treats his understaff as human being. And he feels that his staff are trainees, and he should behave like a, what should I say? God, G, small g. Don't make it big G. Small g. He should be like, God Olympus, sitting on top of the hill and then looking at these subjects with equal eyes, equal vision, and, with justice and the empathy he feels for each one of them. And he feels that these guys must be trained to climb up the ladder, go forward. So this type of persons are mostly adored and liked by the underage staff. On the other hand, negative, there are negative characters. The howl, the growl, they don't guide, they don't teach, they don't do on the job training. Those kind of leaders are abhorred in the uh, corporate sector, and people do not follow them. People rather hate them. So there is a great amount of hatred for this kind of leaders. Okay. And then the most interesting, the human part of leadership is that leader takes the responsibility for any mistake or any wrong done by his under staff. He takes the responsibility and he faces the management, the higher management, and he claims that it is his fault, not his staff. Whereas he shares the credit with his team, takes the responsibility alone, but when there is some good work to done, when there is some question of reward to be assigned to the best performer, he doesn't take the credit alone. He shares the credit with his teammates. So, and above all, as I told you, that he should behave like Lord Olympus sitting on the team. He teaches, he considers his staff as his own students, as his own children, and groom them up for future leadership. Because if he grooms a perfect worker, that lessens his trouble. He can focus on other areas of work, other areas of task. But if he feels that if I teach this guy and this particular person will be qualified enough, and then he would be threatening my position, then he would probably go to another company, take a higher job after learning. This is a very sad thought, I should say, Dr. Moin, that is sometimes I have experienced, I have seen in our country. So that is a total fallacy. It shouldn't be like that. He must teach them. Even if he leaves his company, goes to another company, there he will go and say, I have learned this from Dr. Moin. I have learned this from Dr. Ulfat. I have learned this from this. And believe me, uh, I must inform you that some of my staffs, they are now general managers and CEOs, and they call me, they give me calls when they find some problem. They discuss. Still then, so that's a great reference that they give me. So that is where I should say that people will follow leaders if the leaders are behaving what I told you.
Fantastic. That's a massive chapter, Dr. Ulfat Hussain. I said that the second chapter is about leadership, but I can see that this chapter itself is a book. To be honest with you, I'm really so amazed by the answer that you have given, because I have been fascinated about leadership because I come from Navy. For my audience, those who do not know, I voluntarily retired when I was a lieutenant commander, and then I worked in the Western world in the industry, did two MBAs, one in Bangladesh, another in the UK. And then I come to academia. I've written books as well, but as I have written books on leadership, I consulted many books, but what you have said now, Dr. Ulfat Hussain, I'm so amazed that you have given the cracks of not just one leadership book, but many, many leadership books. And these are so fascinating for somebody who is a seasoned leader, but also somebody who is dreaming to become a leader. And I think it will be an injustice for my audience if I don't actually give a summary and talk about some of the points that we have given, because I was taking note. So really it's fascinating. And I do summarize in my intellectual adda, because that's the way my audience they can actually learn. And there is, in a when human beings listen something twice. So you started with charismatic leadership, and you said that they are born, and most of the time they are operating in the political arena. And this is so true, because in political arena, you can see that somebody might be doing like 50 years of politics and may not even be elected, or may not have a chance to be a leader and make a difference. But somebody, they can be charismatic and they can just come into power very quickly or in a position of leadership. You can see the picture of the New York mayor, that how charismatic and he come and now he's making difference.
Right,
So
right.
charismatic difference leaders are actually operating mostly in the political. So that's a very good actually, the understanding. Then you said that the other leaders who are not charismatic may not be by born, but they can be leader, or they can be made, or they can learn to be a leader. And corporate world gives enormous opportunity for somebody to become a leader, somebody to become a hero from zero. And that's really, really powerful. So you can say that corporate world, the challenges, these are the real life curriculum. You talk about, you give an example of MTO, management training officers, to CEO, and you have seen that some of the qualities they have demonstrated that actually made them CEO from MTO. And some of the qualities that you said, I really admire them. And you said that why leader will be followed. And again, another thing you just said, that leaders should have followers, because if they do not have the quality, why somebody will follow them? And that reminds me about Simon Sinek. Everybody knows about Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek said that, well, you are walking and nobody is following you. That means you are taking a walk, but you are walking and people are following you. That means you are possibly a leader. So that's a fantastic metaphor, that you must have followers. You talked about empathy. And I can remember, I'm a storyteller, and I remember things with the stories. And you said that leaders should have empathy. They should have emotional connection with their people. So there was a story actually heard about a bad leader. And that bad leader became a good leader because he was treating his people badly. And one story was told to him, and a very small story. And the story was that a man treating his horse badly will soon be walking.
Uh-huh.
And this leader became a good leader because he started treating his people good, in a better way. Then
Right.
you talked about negative characters, and you gave some example. But what really, really, actually, I admire here from your discussion is the level 5 leadership that is brought by Collins in his book Good to Great, where Collins said that that level 5 leader is the leader. He's sitting in the office, but all of a sudden he said that something goes wrong, and he will go in front of the mirror and he will blame himself. So you just exactly said that leaders should take responsibility. They should face the management. They should not just make somebody responsible. And again, you said that, okay, the leaders should give credit to their people. So Jim Collins said that, yes, when something goes wrong, they go in front of mirror. But what about when things go right? And he said that then they go in front of the window and look at the people they can give credit to. So
Right.
that has
Right.
been resonated in your advice. So that's really powerful.
I
But
think
then you
that
said,
that's where I'm sorry. Good to great,
yeah,
and I remember one of his famous saying is, uh, good is the enemy of great.
Yeah. That's
Right?
really.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why you also focused on learning and
Yeah.
teaching, because you said learning and teaching, and say when you learn and you teach, actually this is another way of becoming great, because now you are developing your people. And that also reminds me about an advice given by Richard Branson. And you say that some people, they might think that, okay, if I train them, they might change the
Oh,
company.
yeah.
Then what happens?
Yeah.
I spent money. And do you know what? This same question was asked by the CFO, CFO to Richard Branson, that if we spend so much money on training and develop people, and what if they leave our company? And then, do you know what is the answer by Richard Branson? He said that, well, I understand that, but what if we don't develop them, and they do not develop, and they don't leave us? What happens to our company?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's
so
that's a liability. That
that's a
becomes a
liability.
liability and not an asset.
So that's really brought us to chapter 3. So we are going to read chapter 3 of your life, and it's about humans. So my question is, Dr. Ulfat, can someone be a good manager or a good leader without being a good human? And the part 2 of this question is even fascinating. What makes a good human?
Well, unless you are a human being, I mean, unless you possess basic human goodness, you cannot exhibit what is lying inside you. So the point, many of us argue that ethics, ethics, ethics. Well, what is ethics? To me, if you ask most managers in the corporate world, they will show you the policies and procedures written on the paper. They will show you the billboards, very nice quotations of management philosophers. But to me, this ethical management is not just about the company's values that is written in the paper. Rather, this is the daily micro decisions that the managers make. That's very important. Small micro decisions, I call it. All these things will come up. And any moment, if it's a manufacturing industry, wow, you had it. You will have each and every minute there is a possibility of a new problem or new challenge coming up. And the manager, he has to micromanage, we say, and he has to give micro decisions. And every day is an everyday game. Now, what, why, and how? These are three very uh, fascinating two W's and one H. I got two wives and one husband.
My God.
So these two wives and one husband, you have to, a good manager will always explain what is to be done, why this to be done, and how this to be done.
Okay,
If he
so
doesn't, if he
yeah.
doesn't explain this, there won't be any transparency. And the understaff, the worker, the technicians, they will be confused. They misunderstand, and they'll do something. They produce something to you after a work of 6 hours, and you find that this is trash. So it's a loss of time. So a good manager, a good human being who has the ethical, I consider this to be the foremost duty of an ethical manager, that he must explain what is to be done and how it's to be done and why it's to be done.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's really a very, very good answer, Dr. Ulfat. I think it's really worth having this intellectual adda with you. And I think you are bringing wisdom, leadership wisdom that is so powerful and that is so effective in today's world. So you said that what is ethics? So you clearly identified that something fake and something authentic. You said that ethics is not about having all the rules and procedures in papers, in books, that is in the library of the company, or even the quotations by leaders and managers and renowned leaders, renowned managers, philosophers, like hanging on the world in the billboard. But it is about living the values. But how do you live values? That is another critical question. And you clarified that it is reflected in the micro decisions leader take. Because every decision of leader or manager that has ramification, that has consequences. And this is where ethics come. So you use ethics as a compass to identify a good leader or a good manager. And you said that becoming good human is essential because a good human, you said that you have to have some goodness inside you so that it can be emitted. So that is really powerful. And you brought trilogy. That is what, why, and how. Not only it is a very powerful trilogy, and you said that yes, leader has to clarify this thing, make their people understand that what they are doing, what is the underlying reason why they are doing it, and how they should do it. It reminds me something, a story about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs once was talking about a phone, and he was saying that this particular screw in my phone is a bit bigger. It doesn't look elegant. I mean, I want to change it. And then they said that, well, it is inside the phone. Why you are so worried about it? And he said that, well, I'm worried about it because they said that it is not seen by the customer. He said that, well, but we are seeing it. And if we settle to this standard, we are not striving for excellence. So that is why it matters. So you said that this clarity, that why this particular screw needs to be changed, really answer everything. Let me turn the page and let me come to chapter 4. We talked about ethics. Let's come to corporate social responsibility. So my question to you is that before corporate social responsibility, do we need to understand human responsibility? Should corporate responsibility begin with corporate human responsibility? What is your take on there?
Well, corporate social responsibility is primarily a recent coinage of word or practice being done nowadays. Before that, you ought to be you ought to be a good human being as well as the human concerns, the human responsibilities here. As a human being, you must be able to comprehend the problems of first your staff, your employees, the ambience that you have created for the uh, uh, employees to work in, and also the society at large in which you are working. You have an industry, your smoke goes out on the in the sky, and there can be acid rains. So you are earning money, you are making profits, you are having a luxurious life. What about those people who live in and around the locality, the vicinity that they have given you? They have allowed you to establish a factory, an industry in that particular area. So what about them? This is the feeling of a nice human being. A human being who thinks that my posterity, our posterity, our nation will live and survive for years together. So what do I do? What is my responsibility? I think I'll just little go back. Uh, when the Industrial Revolution started in the 18th and 19th century, the concept of CSR wasn't there. But one, Mr. I have a note. I would forget. Just let me read out. Uh, this is Mr. Robert Owen, a British industrialist, and Cadbury. So these people, they thought that if I talk about the philosophy, the thought of the idea of paternalism that was peeping through their mind. So what these two gentlemen did in this industrial revolution, they built, they took some welfare steps for their laborers, for their workers. Uh, Small but expensive task was building houses for them, welfare programs, establishing infirmaries, uh, hospitals, kind of thing. So they were thinking that this is the the people that the work for me, they have a share of the money that the company is making, the profit that the company is making. This is a very fantastic thought, Dr. Moin, that Mr. Cadbury and uh, Robert Wayne, they say. Then I have another point to tell you who really pushed forward the idea of CSR is Mr. Andrew Carnegie. He's the Scottish born American. He belonged to a weaver family. They used to weave clothes. This boy left Scotland and went to Pittsburgh in America when he was roughly around 15, 18 years old. And he worked in a cotton mill, a textile mill, as a work day laborer. But he always thought of that if he had any opportunity, he would do something for his fellow workers because he saw for himself under the factory roof. He saw that how uh, dangerous situations they are in, how these people are suffering from asthma, from chemical reactions, from other things that he observed. So he thought that the owner uh, and any profit that they make, they should spend for the welfare of these people. So Mr. Carnegie, later on, he from the textile industry, he worked as a railway telegraph operator. In those days, this used to be they put the hand and then the communication was through
Yeah.
the railway. Yes, but the Morse code or something like that.
And also sound power telephone, because we
Also
also
sound
use sound
exactly.
power telephone in
Right,
ships.
right. So he was there. But then his dream, he did not, forget his dream. So day by day, with his hard-earned money, he saved and then he established a steel company, Carnegie Steel, by the name, I think. And he, after working for 30, 35 years, this company became very big, and he sold this company, his steel factory, to JP Morgan with 500 million US.
I got.
And you know what? After after retirement, he had 500 million US in his wallet, and he spent out 350 million for the welfare of the people, building hospitals, schools, dispensaries, infirmaries, and all. He didn't believe that the cash amount to be given. He always thought that cash given in at hand would be spent for household effects, would be spent for food, would be spent for, and this would vanish. So he he thought that any wealthy man has the must be uh, thinking about his subjects. As I told you, that the industry smoke out, the industry throw their waste water and spoil the fertility of the land. So you must do something for this people. You must ameliorate their sufferings. And that is where the idea of welfare came. And from the idea of welfare, gradually the corporate social responsibility came forward. The last 50 years, we could say. But Bangladesh, well, yes, Bangladesh is lagging behind. However, there are very good companies who have welfare programs, good welfare programs, like having infirmaries, hospitals in the factory, then a daycare center for working mothers. Even these garment centers, many of them have these. I have seen personally, and I have established some daycares, very nice daycares, and some American buyers. They came and they were surprised to seeing the standard of the daycares where these poor people's children stay and the mothers work. So the CSR is not only to give money. The CSR is a philosophy, is a lifetime philosophy that makes a that makes an industrialist uh, gives him high esteem. Now,
Because
I just want to add one more valuable quote of Mr. Carnegie in his Gospel of Wealth, if you remember the book that he wrote on Gospel of Wealth. Very interesting book. So there, one of his quotable quotes is, "The man who dies thus rich dies disgraced."
oh,
Let me
okay.
tell you again. The man who dies as rich dies disgraced. He di- is the idea behind is that he is a man who he is a rich man and he dies without doing anything for the people. So he dies disgraced. Nobody knows him, right? Nobody, even prays for him. In Islam, we say that, well, if you do this kind of work, uh, then there will be, this is also work of piety, something like that comes up. So I think here it is to explain that Carnegie's, I like his statement that the man who dies rich dies disgraced. You remember, Dr. Moin, I'm sure you will remember that people do forget rich men. How many rich men you remember in the history? But in the history, you have intellectuals, poor intellectuals. Socrates died. Socrates was another assassinated, I should say. But everybody knows Socrates. Was he a rich man? And those days when Socrates was living, Plato, Aristotle living, there are many Greek merchants, multimillionaires. Who remembers them? Who talks about them? But if he, like Haji Muhammad Mohsin, we remember him, he spends money, the profit that he earns with the with his industries, and he spends it for his people, for his society, for his men, and he is remembered by the society, by the nation. So that is where Mr. Carnegie's this statement comes true, that the man who dies rich dies disgraced. In fact, there are many rich men in the world. You'll see that at the end, towards the end of his life, they are reduced to nothingness. There are many instances, and we talk of them. Read on their life. We study on their life. We do PhD programs. We do, a survey and a research on their ideology. But a rich man who amassed wealth and put it as inheritance to his children is unheard of. Maybe a few years, only local people will say he was a rich man. Then gradually he will go away from the history. 200 years, 300 years, 1,000 years. These people who are, philanthropic, they work for people. They'll remain in the hearts and minds of people. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Ulfat. I mean, I wanted to read just one chapter, and I said that this chapter is corporate social responsibility. But to be honest with you, you covered 3, 4 chapters together,
Okay.
and with a story. And that's the power of a story. That when you tell a story carry message, and we do not forget. We may forget the lecture, like you said, that a rich man might be forgotten, and they are forgotten. But a man who made the impact, who was rich, but he died not as rich, because he has made the use of his money. So he made other rich. He made the society rich. He is not dying in disgrace. But somebody whose wealth is in the bank and he is dying in disgrace because this wealth has not been used. So, my another chapter was actually about what is our kind of the obligation or our debt to the nations and the society. But you have already answered that. My another aspect was sort of are we forgetting about the human resource management? But you have really very powerfully covered that one today. But we can discuss those things in another intellectual adda in detail. I just want to tell two stories here to support your story, so that I'm not going to summarize the way I summarized before, because I think for my audience and for anyone listening, they will get immense value. So your quote is very, very powerful, and your story about the history of corporate social responsibility is powerful as well. But I will just talk about a story about Alexander.
Mhm.
So Alexander understood that he's going to die, and he called his generals, the very
All
close
right.
generals, and he gave a instruction. He said that, well, I'm going to die, and I have got 3 requests for you. And they said that, what is it? Tell us. We will make sure that this is implemented. He said that, make sure that my dead body is carried by the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Mm-hmm.
said that, make sure
Yeah.
that my 2 hands are extended out, and everybody
Yes.
can see my hand. And then he said that the last wish is that, put my jewels or jewelry or the wealth that I have in the road through which my dead body is carried. And they were surprised. They said that, why? And Alexander said that, you see, I'm just going to die, but I learned the lesson of life. So I want to make people understand that even the Alexander, whose name is followed by the word great, Alexander the Great, people can see that Alexander is leaving the world with empty hand. And they can see that his wells are in the road, and they can see that the doctors, they could not save his life because they are carrying the thing. So this is very, very powerful, very, very powerful. This is like one thing. Another thing, you gave example. There is also example of the Leo Tolstoy, the famous writer, of Russian writer. And Leo Tolstoy was come from a very rich family, but then he understood what is life, and he died in a railway station. during COVID, and he embraced a very, very simple life. So
Correct.
this awakening is very, very important. It's very, very important. But and the fact of the matter is that because I told Leo Tolstoy, I cannot but not to tell a story written by Leo Tolstoy that how much land does a man need?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. How much
So
land a man
yeah.
needs.
So there was a farmer and he was very greedy about land and he used to
Yeah,
buy land and land and he got a news that there is a place where you can only pay 1,000 ruble and you can get as much land as possible, but there is a condition you have to cover it, start walking or running around the area and come back. So start walking at sunrise and then come back before sunset. So he was running, running, running,
running,
yeah,
right.
trying to cover as much land as possible. And then he realized that, oh my God, I've come far and I may not return before sunset. And then I lose everything. So he started running. And he was increasing his speed. And he reached some before the sunset. But he was so exhausted that he died there.
Yeah,
So his
yeah.
servant
I
was
know this
there.
story.
And
Right.
then his servants asked them to bury him. And when he was buried, he only got 6 feet land.
Yeah.
And he said that how much land does a man need? So you said that, somebody die rich, he dies in disgrace, the quote. So that's so powerful. And that's really brings us to another chapter, which is might be a remarkable chapter of your book of life. And I'm going to ask a question around that chapter. And that is the possibly the most important chapter for today's. And with that, we are going to finish today. So, you know, this is the chapter on success. So, Dr. Ulfat, after 45 years spending life in various diverse role in diverse industries and gaining experience from different sources, living experience, how you are going to define success?
I mean, the question you asked me to do.
Yeah. So how do you define success?
Okay, okay. You see, after working for long 45 years and going through trials and tribulations and going through different circumstances and situations, I was also, ambitious. I had a clear path, direction. I wanted to be head of HR. I became. I wanted to work abroad, which I had the opportunity to work abroad as regional HR director.
And you are also educated in America, right? I think you have taken your PhD.
That's from California,
Oh, California, yeah.
University, American
Yeah,
International University. I did Doctor of Business Administration. I'm
yeah,
not a PhD degree holder like
yeah.
you.
But that's fine. That's still, yeah. They
So,
DBA.
yeah, you know, basically, Doctor of Business Administration, this Doctor of Business Administration is particularly easier than doing a PhD, because PhD, you will always go for invention or innovation of new ideas, new thoughts, right? But DBAs, they have curriculum, they have syllabus set. So if you want to do DBA in HR, a prescribed syllabus will come to you, and you just read those and do your exam and have a one uh, end of study paper submission and all those. So that's, I mean, literally easier. I can tell you frankly. So if we talk about, I respect PhD degree holders because they invent, they innovate, they give new ideas, they give new philosophy of life and other operations. Anyway, coming back, I have now, when I you know sit alone and think that what have I gained in these 45 years, my success. And my success story is that I have become uh, a humble man. I think my philosophy is humility, because humility allows people to be confident without needing to prove your superiority. And I don't have to prove my superiority. I am a very humble man. And I guess you would also, uh, you know, think of Socrates. What did Socrates say? Know thyself. And then the true wisdom is in knowing the fact. One of very famous quotation sayings of Socrates is that the true wisdom is in knowing the fact that you know nothing. That's an interesting philosophy I really hold in myself. I still feel that my fag end of my life, the twilight of my life, I feel that I have yet to learn, yet to go forward. I have many miles to walk before I sleep. I
Just
think so. This is one that I have learned: humility, and nobody should be proud or boastful of his past, of his education, of his riches, of his money, of his wealth, and anything. It's the people around, the society, that will value me. That is where my humility, I consider that this is my success, that I have learned to be humane. And I also possess, a good sense of humor. I always felt, and I have learned from my bosses, some American, some Bangladeshi bosses.
you have demonstrated as well with HN2W.
Yes. So, I have a good sense of humor. And, what is humor? To me, humor is lubrication, it is a lubricant. It lubricant in this society, you know. And if you if you do some humor with intelligence, then people will remember. They will not only laugh, they will remember that, well, Dr. Moin told this joke or made this humor just so, you know, uh, mm, interesting. And it was so much of, uh, life-giving something that came up. So humor to me is also a tool that diffuse tensions, stress. If you find that one of your friends or colleague or even your better half, if your better half is annoyed, normally it happens in our middle class society. So if you make some humor, instead of showing her wrath, she will smile, laugh, or she burst into laughter at times. So humor is, is a tool for shared laughter. I say shared laughter. You tell me humor, I laugh, and you also laugh. So we laugh together, and that really keeps us, you know, binding together. We exchange, and we always feel something that is interesting. So humor to me is a social lubricant.
Brilliant.
The
That
other
terminology I really liked that, the social lubricant, and this is really powerful. So yeah, go on.
and the other thing, that the last one I should say, that I maintain emotional calmness. At this age, some 20 years back, if I can say, some 45 to 50 years, I learned to remain emotionally calm. One of my bosses, he's a Filipino. I worked with him for a long time, and he taught me this, and I really take it by heart, that maintain emotional calmness under any circumstance, be it in your office or in your family, with your friends or in your class, with your students or a, with a crowd, an angry crowd, you suddenly fall in. Maintain emotional calmness, because anger and fear and panic, we cannot decide the right way of doing things. Sanju, you know, Sanju, this
The
Chinese
Chinese
uh,
general, yeah.
yeah, general, Chinese general, and he is famous for art of war.
Yeah.
So Sanju, he philosophized, you know, he said that never ever be angry. If you are angry and make a decision in rash, you will be defeated in the war field. Rather, he advocated that allow your enemy, your adversary, to speak more or to display what he has, and you remain on the back foot and see how he comes up. Once he comes up, then you can strategize your own war game. So Sanju's this philosophy, the Chinese know, that the general who loses his temper will make rash moves that result in defeat. So rash moves we should not do. So I think that is one of my successes that I have learned, and I can maintain. My success is that I maintain emotional calmness at home or with my friends. Or so I treat my friends and foes alike, and I always keep maintain emotional calmness. And I would request my the young generation, our young people, young scholars studying, or the young workers or executives, maintain emotional calmness in all situations. You will be winner. You will be winner, and you will be winner. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You just said it thrice. So that means you emphasize the power. So that's really, really powerful, to be honest to do. And the way you define success, and not only you have defined success, but you also said that some of the strategies that can lead someone towards success or also retain their position in a position of success. So you started with humility. And that's really powerful, because you brought the Socrates as example, that he said that what I know, that I don't know anything. And actually, the more you know, it's like your horizon of knowledge enhances. So that means, like, if you are flying in the sky and you go up, you can see more. So when you see more, what happens when you are in the plane? You become a small, and the world is vast now. So you can really see that how small you are. So the more you know, that will actually make you the humble person, because now you understand that how big is the God universe is, and I'm just a tiny, tiny dot.
Yes.
So, and that
Yes.
is the true characteristics of a successful man. And
Yes.
becoming humble is not easy. It's very difficult. Steve Jobs, he was like, somebody said that, okay, and he said that simplicity is the ultimate elegance. I said, simplicity? He said, yes, simplicity is the most difficult thing.
Yes.
That,
Simplicity.
yeah. So it's like being humble is very difficult. And then you talked about humor. You talked about social lubricant, that you see, we should enjoy life as well, that our life should not be serious all the time. But you mentioned one thing that's really powerful. You said that humor with intelligence, that people will remember. And I was very surprised, because you did not come from a background where you studied literature, or Literature was part of your kind of domain, but still you manifested some idea which is very popular in literature. The comedy. The purpose of comedy is not to actually create humor only, but it creates humor, but at the same time it questions the
Yes.
anomalies of the society. So,
Yes.
so you said using humor with intelligence. That's really, really powerful. But what is very important, you said that I manage the emotional calmness. In today's world, emotional intelligence has become very powerful. But it's all about remaining calm in all situations. Take time and respond to the situation, not making decision in a rush manner. So these are really powerful. Not only have you defined success, but you have also given us some tips to be successful. So that is, I'm really very, very grateful for the wisdom that you brought today. I'm going to finish my today's Intellectual Adda. So, dear audience, today we have not simply listened to a story or to a stories. We have turned the pages of a book of life, a book of career, a book of leadership, struggles, and experience. And now, as we reach the final page, perhaps our task is not merely to close the book, but to pause and reflect on what we have read and what we have learned and how we can illuminate our life and the life of others with what we have learned. My heartfelt thanks to our distinguished guest, Dr. Ulfat Hussain, for sharing not only his journey, but the lessons, choices, and experiences that have shaped his life. And thank you to everyone who joined us today at Creativity Café and Intellectual Adda with Dr. S.M. Moin. As we leave this Adda, I would like us to carry one question with us. We spend so
Excuse
much
me.
of our lives trying to become successful, but perhaps the greatest question could be, are we becoming the kind of human who can change the world? The kind of human that has come in the examples given by Dr. Ulfat when he was articulating the, the start of corporate social responsibility. Until our next Adda, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and above all, keep creating. Thank you, Dr. Ulfat Hussain,
Thank
and
you.
thank you, everyone.